gosh, do you remember this?
The coronavirus.
1 million people are currently
But the next few weeks will be the hardest yet.
Like we're fighting a losing battle.
And all of that because of a f***ing bat, allegedly. Now, during the course of the pandemic, we had the chance to binge some real quality TV. I actually fell in love with Better Call Saul during this period. However, there was also some of the worst films ever made during this period. Now, I get it, shooting a film during the pandemic must seem like it's pretty difficult, but it was actually kind of easy. I shot a film during this period, and the locations were cheaper, actors were wholly available, loads of crew and cast were unemployed. It was actually my smoothest shoot yet. So, it made sense that production companies would shoot some films during this period. But, honestly, some of the films that came out during that period were total ass. And I'm going to rank them. So, full disclosure here, there's a lot of films that were either shot during that period or about that period. So I'm going to focus on the ones during that period that predominantly feature lockdowns as part of their narrative. And yeah, there's going to be loads of these f***s. So I'm not featuring them all. I'm going to pick out the most known, and honestly, many of them are not very good, and rank them from worst to best. And how we'll do this is going through each film, and then at the end, we'll rank them until we find the true king of lockdown movies. Oh God, I'm getting way too pumped for this. Let's do this. First up is Dumb Money. Now, Craig Gillespie is a strange director. His Scorsese-esque film, I, Tonya, was a great little effort, sporting Margot Robbie's best performance to date, and a great turn by Sebastian Stan, as well as an Oscar win for Allison Janney. And I thought the director would kick on and do some incredible work. Now here's the thing, I watched Cruella during the pandemic and thought it was good. Better than I thought it would be. But I didn't expect the director who made I, Tonya to make a Disney movie. And then I started one episode of the TV show Mike, a TV show all about Mike Tyson. And I could barely get through the first 15 minutes of the first episode. It was badly acted, badly directed, and looked rather cheap. So, when I hesitantly began to watch Dumb Money by the same director, I had reservations. However, it's actually not a bad film. And I must say, I'm liking this version of Seth Rogen. He's embraced the fact that he wants to be a good actor, and he's taken on some good projects. I didn't mind these stoner days, but found them underwhelming. And of course, his and James Franco's relationship has soured, so Rogen has had to step away from that type of work. And he is a standout in this film. That is mostly good. It's not the best film ever, and whilst you're watching it, you're mildly entertained, and when it's over, you just kind of forget all about it. But honestly, that sounds like most Hollywood films nowadays. Host. This horror film is set in London and was made for just $100,000. It was shot on Zoom over 12 weeks. Now, let's face it, did anyone know what Zoom was before the pandemic? Because I certainly didn't. And this film went on to be praised and made nearly $500,000 on its meager budget. Now, again, full disclosure, if you watch this channel a lot, you probably know I don't particularly like horror movies. I find them laughable. So it's fair to say that this film isn't one of my faves. However, we'll rank it nonetheless. Life Upside Down. Now, I love me some Bob Odenkirk. Loved him ever since the highly underappreciated The Larry Sanders Show, and this film has Bob as its leading actor. It's about a set of 3 couples in LA during the lockdowns, and much like The Host, it takes place over Zoom. When in doubt, use Zoom seems to be the motto of lockdown films. Songbird. Okay, so the world has gone into lockdown. You think of an idea for a script and write it almost immediately. You get funded and shoot it, becoming the first film to shoot in Los Angeles since the lockdown. But also your film's crap. That's Songbird. Despite boasting a cast of well-known, not A-list, but well-known actors like Craig Robinson, Demi Moore, and Alessandra Daddario, the film is a real slog to get through. It makes you wish lockdown was actually compulsory. I mean, it kind of was compulsory, but you get my joke. Locked Down. A heist film set in London during the lockdown. Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor as a married couple in the lead roles, Stephen Merchant, Ben Stiller and Ben Kingsley in the supporting roles, Doug Liman of Swingers and the original Bourne film directing. Yes, please. I'm in. God, this film sucks. Lockdown is a waste of time, money, resources, and talent. It would have been better if all involved just took some time out and started a new hobby, because this film sucks. As per normal, the trailer looked good. The film blew ass. Now, sorry for my lack of technical deconstruction on this film. It doesn't deserve it. Another film that uses Zoom as its main tool. The actors are trying hard, I guess, maybe. Doug Liman, who's one of the most curious directors in Hollywood, everyone says he's all over the place when it comes to directing, unfocused and scattershot. But he's made some incredible films. And he's also made some trash. And this is trash. Borat Subsequent movie film. This is barely a lockdown film. It's a sequel to the highly funny original Borat film. And to be fair, this is also funny.
And then they drink their blood or that out of their...
I've heard about things like that.
Hillary Clinton drink the blood of children?
That's what we've heard.
Yeah.
Or I've heard.
It's been said.
It's not really a patch on its original, but we're in a time duly starved of great comedies. And this is certainly not a bad one. Now, if you asked me right now to tell you a joke from the film or a funny scene, I'd be hard-pressed to name one, to be fair. So maybe it's not that funny. You've been waiting for this one.
No, it's happening. Mr. Braun. Oh, shit. What is the matter? It was the game. The game.
Glass, Onion, and Knives Out mystery. Now, look at this entry in Wikipedia. During the COVID-19 pandemic in May 2020, Miles Braun, the co-founder of technology company Alpha, hosts a murder mystery game at the Glass Onion, his mansion on a private island in Greece. That's about as locked down as this film gets. Bits of masks being worn and stuff like that, but really this film isn't about lockdowns at all. Okay, full disclosure here, I hate The Last Jedi, much like most people in the world. It basically broke Star Wars. And Rian Johnson's refusal to take any blame for that kind of irks me. But I do like Rian Johnson, and I have done ever since his debut film, Brick. Brick is a great reworking of the film noir trope. And yes, it does subvert your expectations. That's kind of what he does, right? So, I'm not a hater. But this film is terrible. The original Knives Out is good. It's a fun tale featuring a great turn from Chris Evans and a nice solid performance from Ana de Armas. And this film also features my favourite actor ever, Ed Norton. But it's an incoherent mess that is trying way too hard to be clever and funny and falling on its face. And spoiler alert, but the twin sister thing is just blah. Johnson is one of the best technical writers to come out of Hollywood over the past 40 years. He understands the mechanics of a screenplay to a high level, which is why he's consistently subverting the tropes and expectations. But his films often lack true emotion or empathy. They come across as "I'm more clever than you" pieces of work. It's his major flaw as a filmmaker, which is a shame because he's a real talent. And lastly, we have The Bubble, a comedy about a film crew trying to shoot a blockbuster movie in England. Listen, does anyone remember when Judd Apatow was actually funny?
First of all, it ain't that kind of party, all right? Go, yeah. Why you always telling me to go, man?
Because I do. And those days seem long gone. It seems like a day and an age since 40-year-old Virgin and Knocked Up. This is him at his absolute worst. I tried to like this film. I failed. I really wanted to get on board. I want a return of great comedy films. This film is appalling, embarrassingly so, and it wastes an A-star cast in a mire of unfunny setups. Oh, Netflix, you have some crimes to answer for. Right, let's rank these films, but before we do, a massive shout out to Bo Burnham's Inside, which is kind of a movie, I guess. It's just him in his apartment doing things, but was one of the better things to come out of lockdown. Okay, so there's the 8 films, 8 places, We're going from best to worst. And first up is Dumb Money. I think this is the best shot, acted, and most compelling story about the pandemic from the list. Now, it was made in 2022, so not really during the pandemic. So, actually, I'm going to bump it down and put Host as number 8. A film that was made dirt cheap and made during the pandemic itself. And to make a profit the way this film did is brilliant. Again, I'm not a huge horror fan, but fair is fair. And at 7, I'll put Dumb Money. 6, Borat. Again, ask me to name a joke from this film and I'll draw a blank. But I do remember it being funny at the time, which is more than I can say for most of the comedies on this list. 5 is going to be Life Upside Down. Who doesn't love them some Bob Odenkirk? And it was made during the actual pandemic. 4, okay. So we're in real trash territory now. So I'm gonna put Songbird here. It's commendable that this is the first film that kicked off the film industry in LA again, despite it being awful. 3, I'm gonna put Glass Onion. The film was shot after the lockdowns, and as bad as I think it is, others do like it. So Rian, you are spared top place for trash. 2, I really want to put The Bubble in last, as it's definitely the worst film on this list. But its saving grace is that it was shot after the bulk of the lockdowns. But honestly, Judd, get good again. This film is ass. And at number 1 is Locked Down, shot during the actual pandemic and awful. Oscar-winning Anne Hathaway, Oscar-nominated Chiwetel Ejiofor, Doug Liman as director. Guys, you had the whole of London to use with no obstructions. They even gave you access to Harrods to shoot in. This is a monumental waste of resources, talent, money, and time. Like I said, each person who worked on this film could have taken up a hobby instead of making this abomination. It's just so bad. Being bad is one thing, but to be boring is a true crime. Locked Down. Aptly, you are the king of bad lockdown movies. Now, have you seen these films? Which ones are the best and which ones are the worst? And are there any big lockdown movies that I've missed out on? Subscribe and like to help this channel grow. Thank you to everyone who subscribed so far, and until we speak again, big love.